Now for a more fun
A swag and good time.
swag, yes. So, swag.
So we're Vikram and Laurence.
There we go. Ooh. All right, I'm gonna stand here. So this is about the do's and don'ts when you're getting or obtaining your swag for your events. These are older pictures of us.
Yeah. I'm Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Tim. What is swag?
Something we all get.
That's one possibility.
Sales with a gift.
That's possible. It's also smart Wookiees always gloat.
All right, so more seriously, GDG branding. From here on out, everything we talk about, if you go to the resources guide on the website, you will see everything here plus a very detailed slide deck of all the branding that we're going to talk about. Even more stuff than what's here because there's new stuff added.
And because we didn't find it until about an hour ago.
Yes, it was added yesterday, so... All right, so this is the official logo. It's got the chevrons. This is a 5-color logo. A lot of people think this is a 4-color logo, but you have to take in consideration the GDG is in a gray. This is important because when you're printing this on a shirt and they ask you how many colors is it, and they're going to quote you 4 colors if you tell them 4 colors. So that's why I go through that. All right, the correct usage. So if you notice, actually I have something cool here called a pointer. All right, so you can see Dublin is right here. That is the chapter name. So when you represent your chapter in your logo, you put your name to the right of the GDG. And if you go to that resources page, you will see a link to do that for you. So all you do is just type in your chapter name, and then you can download the logo, which is kind of nice. You want to make sure that if you're using color, that you stick to this color format. The branding guide that's on the website has the actual RGB colors. There's some hex colors, and I think there's some Pantone colors. I'm not sure. If you have to use a knockout version, you want to do the entire logo that way. So that is a possibility, and you will need that for certain situations. Incorrect usage. So I see this a lot in different areas. You don't want to put additional graphics around your logo. You don't want to put a lot of graphics behind it where it's kind of taken away from it. Here's the knockout version where the location is the wrong color. And when you do embroidery, printing, or anything like that, you want to make sure the colors are correct. This configuration was actually wrong. So if you study it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, if you were here last year, you know. Because Dan lets us know.
I can point things out if you want me to.
Yeah. All right, so this is the resources page. So when you go to the GDG website, you will see this, and there's actually more links on here than this now. But when you click on that link there, it goes straight to the branding guides. And I'm going to go there.
So graphic design is super important when you're doing your branding and swag. There's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind. So one thing you got to think about is where you're going to get it. You can get it from, there's online vendors like Fiverr, which I want to say the Twin Cities used at one point. Is that correct, Patrick? Awesome. Community you can reach out to have them design some graphics for you. There's could be some great people out there. Other GDG chapters, I believe Tim by trade does graphic design.
Yes, I do.
So
Sorry.
That's me asking a question.
I know.
So while
I like picking
continuing
at
the
you.
statement, hire professional. Tim.
A professional what?
Hire, you get a student to do it, which are, looking to build up their portfolio or anything. So the price might be a little bit cheaper. There's organizer guides as well, which have assets in them. For example, the K there is from the Kotlin Everywhere organizer guide. I'm sure there's assets probably in some organizer guide that's probably out there right now for some campaign that I can't think about. Or you could try it for yourself.
Yes.
So these are some examples from the Kotlin Everywhere, the IO Extended organizer guides. So water bottles, hats, you guys, generally speaking, can see and have eyes, I think. So, something to also keep in mind is the number of colors, as Tim had said earlier. 4-color versus 5-color, that will end up costing you different amounts. There's knockouts, which are single colors, kind of like if, that's a knockout, that's a knockout, that's a multicolor one. So there's screen printing. That's a screen printed shirt. There's embroidery stuff, which is cost per stitch. With shirts, think about how many sides it's being printed on, what color the shirt is, because that could play a role. One piece of swag we unfortunately don't have on us to show.
Sponsors.
Oh, sponsors.
You saw the back of the shirt. We put the sponsors there. Sponsors love that because it's added value.
And since I'm cheap, I always make them send me a 1-color version of their logo. So I only have to print 1 color on the back. So, but yeah. So some pro tips. Everything make it all vector, which those are your Illustrator, your PDF can go either way, I believe. EPS, SVGs, raster images are okay, but not preferred. Which are your JPEGs or PNGs. So if you want to...
Yeah, so if you're looking at swag, you definitely want everything in vector. You don't want anything raster. If you see anything, even PNG, that sometimes will not work. You want to make the amount of work on the printer the easiest as possible. So when you build that relationship with your vendor, you can typically get cheaper pricing sometimes. So you want to give them vector because they're going to want to use that as much as possible. So a lot of times in the branding guides, you'll see raster graphics, and that's very frustrating for a lot of chapters. So everyone ends up having to convert everything to vector, and you'll see the Slack channel just blow up. Do you have this? Do you have that? Has anybody done this or that? Different changes. So anyway, vector is the way to go when it comes to swag.
Types of swag. So there's all different types of swag. Swag that you can perfect from private vendors. So things that affect the cost, though, are the quantity, shipping, I'm guessing. So order more, and you'll get it for cheaper per item. Shipping, obviously, the sooner you order it, you don't need to pay for rush shipping. So keep that in mind. As we were talking about the number of colors, the more colors you got, the more you're going to have to pay.
One other thing to add to this is the actual item that you buy. Look at how much it weighs, because your shipping costs are going to be extremely high if it's something heavy like mugs. Coffee mugs, you're going to pay the same amount in shipping as you are the actual item getting printed. So look at those kinds of things. So the lighter the item, the cheaper the shipping's going to be. So,
well, the next thing on that side said slides or sizes. And that is a very important thing, which is also on this slide. So make sure that you figure out sizes and consider that the cost will be different for larger ones. This graphic is a reference to me. They make sure you have the correct amount of the correct sizes, especially if you ask sizes, because I ended up with an extra small hoodie at one point by choice, to just put that out, and I've worn it many years. So watch the video to see me in an extra small hoodie of this talk previously. Oh, this is your slide. Keep talking.
I'm
Sorry.
waiting for you to shut up. No, everything he said. So no. So one thing I want to point out about quantity is, all right, look at your attendance and then look at there's attendance swag and then there's prize swag. So your attendance swag is going to be high quantity, but you want it to be a lower cost because you're having to fit all this in your budget. So if you're buying swag that's just prizes, of course you're going to have low quantity, so you can up the price of that item. So a T-shirt can be $8 to $12 that you want to give to everybody, as opposed to like a Google Home or something like that where you want a low quantity. Freudian slip. Okay, where to buy? So private vendors, you've got online ones, you've got some that are local. It's good to know your community and buy local if you can. When you buy online, there's a lot of issues that you can run into. A lot of people like to go to 4imprint and just type it in, pay, and be done. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. We have someone here in the room who has purchased from an online vendor before, and 2 or 3 days before the event, she found out that the item was no longer in stock, and they didn't tell her. So she had to scramble and find something different. So if you know the vendor personally, you know the person you're talking to, that says a lot, and it goes a long ways. Size requirements, anything over 2XL is going to cost you a little bit more. So you need to know your sizes when you're ordering these things or when you're getting quotes. Diversity and inclusion, you need to know your community. You need to know what they want and what they don't want. I'm gonna
jump in really quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Is getting large sizes, I feel like, is important. As a larger guy, we tend to wear those shirts, if we actually get them, more often than you'd think. So it's really good advertising. So include larger people.
Well, to add to that, this pullover that I have, I ordered this specifically because one of our guys in our group wears a 4X. And this was the only thing I could find in a 4X that I could get in the time frame that I needed. So what we originally agreed on getting for that event, we changed it just for that one individual. So sometimes you have to do that. Nobody knows except the organizers. So graphic design, we've talked about that. You got to consider everything that we said, vector, what the actual shirt's going to look like, the layout. If you saw the back of this green shirt, you saw that we put sponsors all over there. They have to be laid out a certain way. If you want your printer to do that, they may cost you a little bit more.
So, that's you.
That's me. All right, this is a pro tip. So when you're paying your vendors, there's 2 kinds of payments. One, they want your money up front, which is usually your online companies. Some of your local guys are okay with 30 days. How does that help you? Well, if you got a small budget and you're waiting for sponsorship money, you may be able to order something if you really need to go ahead and order it, and then pay when you get your sponsorship money. So you just got to play around with that and know your budgets and your money and where everything's being spent. Swag from sponsors is really cool. Why? Because you don't have to do anything. They bring it to you, and all you have to do is and sometimes they give it out too, so you just receive it and smile and thank them. Swag from the Google Merchandise Store. A lot of people don't know that this site is there. There are a lot of good ideas on there to buy on your own. There's also ideas to buy specifically from the store. So, for instance, I've bought some little Androids that are $5, and you can buy a whole bag of them, and they usually keep hundreds of them in stock. So if you don't know what to get, just buy a whole bag of those, and they'll ship them to you, and you're good. Everybody loves them, little wind-up toys. There's cups like this there that you can buy, mugs, just all kinds of stuff. So I use that as a way to get ideas to put our own GDG logo on, and also ideas to buy just directly from them to give out as prizes. So again, you got to understand your budget. You got to understand your attendance, your quantities, size requirements, all those kinds of things.
So there's non-material swag. For our Dev Fest, we took the speakers up to the top of the Sears Tower, did dinner with them, kind of showed them the city a little bit. You could also do donations to nonprofits and speakers' names. Do coupons for merchandise, or just some ideas of some non-material things that you can do.
All right, swag ideas. The best ideas are to reach out to in the Slack, and ask the community, ask everyone, what are you doing? Go to different meetup pages and see what other chapters are doing. But these are things that I've done: T-shirts, jackets, beanies, coffee mugs, just you name it, they have it. There's always new stuff coming out every week because the companies that make this stuff, they want to be trendy. They want to be on the cutting edge of things. So always check your vendors and see what they have new because they're always adding stuff. Pro tip, what do you do with your leftover swag? Well, there's two things that I like to do. If I have an event that there is no campaign running, and we're just doing some odd tech event, and I have no money for swag, I can take some of my leftover stuff and give that away. Your attendees are completely okay with it. Some people like to have 2 shirts. Some people like to, you may have some new people who've never had the shirt from a past event. So that's a good idea for that. Another is marketing to other groups. So if you go out to your community to another meetup, you can take some of your swag, and a lot of times if you know the people that are running the group, they will allow you to either distribute there or market your next event by using that. So I use that a lot. Event creatives.
Yep, it's creative.
All right, types of creatives. So badges, these are all the things that your logo is going to be on for the event. So you got badges, vinyl banners, digital creatives, which are banners and things that you use on Facebook and different social media sites. There's multi-use ones and there's single-use ones. Single-use would be what you see here. This is a Dev Fest. There's a date on it, and you're never going to use it again. So be cautious when you spend money on these. Make sure you get them at a very inexpensive price because you're never going to use it again. So the multi-use ones, I should have brought one, but I've got one for my WTM events. It has WTM, the logo really big. There's some other graphics on there, and we just use that over and over again. These are both of us.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So these are a couple ideas that we have for DevFest logos. You don't have to use the graphics that are in your organizer guides all the time. So with DevFest, a lot of different chapters, they come up with their own unique look. So the one on the right is mine, the other one.
The one on the left is mine, and the one on the bottom is Stacy's, I believe.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen, no matter who you are, whether you're Kyle, Naveen, Cubra. Well, all of them aren't in the room right now, so I can say that.
Yes.
Corinna is perfect, though, so.
All right.
So, proof everything.
Yeah.
There's been shirts that have said GFG on them that have been handed out at events.
The Google Fashion Group.
So the shoelaces around all of your necks as lanyards, if you look very closely at them, are not centered. The GDG logo, it kind of veers off.
My IO extended shirts, I started putting the years that we've had it on the back, and I screwed up and did not change the current year. And when I got the proof, I saw it. If I would not have paid attention to the proof, it would have been a really big screw up. So pay attention to the proofs. They're very important. But if you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Move on. You've got another event coming. Worry about that one. All right.
I know they're telling us we're out of time, but I'm still taking questions because someone else pushed our time back. So let's do this. Who we got? All right. Where are we going to first? That guy?
I think he's
All
got a microphone.
Oh, he's got a microphone. All right.
If your event is big enough, if you need to make, let's say 300 shirts, would you consider to invest to make your own print shop? Just single color, screen print, vinyl cut? Do you think it's a good idea? Because you will need to make shorts later, for example. It's not big cost. Vinyl cutter costs you $300. Shorts in bulk, you can get it for $3. And you don't have shipping problem then. You are in charge.
You mean print them yourself?
Yes.
Your own printer?
Yes.
Printing machine?
A direct garment printer or?
Not that's expensive. Vinyl is cheap. Vinyl is I'm sorry. It's a screen printing, single color, right? But you produce your graphic by vinyl cutter. Vinyl cutter printer cutter. Costs $300. Screen costs $15. Shorts in bulk $3. Ink is basically almost free.
Right. Well,
Would you consider it, or you think it's a bad idea?
Well,
I think you gotta.
I'm all for getting things as cheap as you can.
And I think you also got to consider time around printing those as well.
Time,
Yeah, because
quality
I
of the
know
print.
Stacy has spent many a time printing out 3D items like this that I still haven't handed out 2 years later.
They're collector's items now.
It's going out. At least I still have it.
Yeah, but I'll point my stuff out there. So this past year I gave out over. Okay, Yeah. Okay, I'll pull this out, right? So I actually have a lot of experience with vinyl cutters, 3D printers, making swag. I can tell you that doing heat press on a bunch of shirts and getting, it's still the same problem. So like if you're doing screen print, you have to have a drying station. The drying stations are, to be able to do 50 shirts is reasonable to think about in a day as one person before you go crazy. But if you're having an event of 100 people, also I'll tell you this, if you want a decent quality shirt, you can get it cheaper a lot of times ordering it through one of these promotional companies than you can yourself. So a shirt that you say is $3 at Walmart, that's a shirt that you can get for $1.50 from most of these promotional companies. I've done $3 single color shirts with screen printing and all that kind of stuff, and ordering a few hundred of them. They're not particularly good. They get the job done, but they're not going to be typically reworn very often. You want a decent quality shirt, you're going to have to allocate at least $10 a person per shirt, regardless of how much your quantity is. So even if you have 500 people, it's probably still going to be about $10 a person, because there's just a certain price on the shirt they can't go below on. But also when it comes to the 3D printed swag that he talked about, I start that now to give out in May, and I'm making like 700 things, maybe more, like last year I did almost 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm not doing that many this year. I can't. Last year I started in December. This year I had a kid in December. That's not going to happen. But yeah, so that's a more realistic way to look at it is time making it yourself, if you're doing a few things, maybe just ones for leadership or something like that, yeah, then it might make sense. But for an entire event, what? Yeah, I have several, and that's running off of several 3D printers. So that's not one 3D printer, and I work from home, so.
This one was, I think, the little necklace thing you did.
Yeah, that was from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Those were the necklaces. Laser cut stuff, if you have access to a large format laser cutter, yeah, you can totally do that. You can knock that stuff out pretty quickly. We've done that for projects of ours, and we have access to a large table router and stuff as well too. So, if you have any questions on making things,
Great
probably a
resource
good person to
for
talk
during
to.
the break.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna move on to the next question.
Yes, please.
Sorry, this one's just a comment from a diversity standpoint because a lot of men may not be aware, but T-shirt companies sell something called a unisex shirt, and there's no such thing as a unisex person. So they don't fit. They don't fit everybody. There's no such thing as a one size, one shape person, thing that's going to fit. So please, if you wanted to make sure that the shirts are going to be actually worn and reworn by the members of your community, talk to people in your community of different shapes and find out what's going to work for them, because they're just men's shirts. I don't know why they call them unisex. They're men's shirts. They don't fit women very well. And so, shirts are great, but I'm never going to wear it because it doesn't fit. So, just talk to the people in your community so you can find out what works for them.
Yeah, that's important because, just knowing your community, because, when I first started doing this, I always had ladies' sizes and men's sizes, and I always had a lot of ladies' sizes left over, and I couldn't figure out why. And one of our WTMs came to me and said, "Stop ordering lady sizes." And I said, "Okay, why?" She says, "They don't fit anybody. Nobody's shaped like that. The way they, the model, the mannequins or whatever they use to cut stuff." So they were all getting the men's sizes. It wasn't because the men's looked better on them. It was just it fit better than the other. So it's all about community. So your community may be different. So know your community. So you're going to make mistakes like that. Just take a note and move on. Don't do shirts.
That is one other option.
Right. Very.
So if you have people who are volunteers, that makes perfect sense. Bright colors, stuff that they're probably never going to wear anyway. You're not probably going to rewear it. But doing shirts is such a pain, and you always end up with leftovers. You never really get rid of them. Just do non-size items.
Socks.
Socks. These, I guarantee you, they got this idea for the shoelaces from the shoelaces that I gave to some of the folks from our Dev Fest.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't like socks as gifts, but everyone has their own preference. So next question.
One more question.
How
Two.
important
Two more?
really is swag? And I ask that because we have a couple of organizers in our community. It's a constant battle with them to spend any money at all on swag, because the things we can afford are generally small things like buttons and pens and things like that nobody really seems to ever use. So are we better off buying a couple big things to give away at our big events and just forget about the small stuff? Or is it just based on your community? Because we seem that we end up with a lot of leftover things that nobody really wants.
Yeah, again, knowing your community. If you're buying some stuff that people don't want, switch it, get something else. People do want to receive things for their time coming to an event. Even though they may have paid to go or it may have been a free event, giving something out gives them something tangible to take back with them. So it is possible that you don't have, if you have a lot of leftovers or people aren't just taking stuff when they leave, it could be that you just haven't picked the right thing yet.
And maybe do a survey as to what they might be interested in,
Yeah.
or ask in the Slack as to what's working for the rest of us?
Yeah, I like, before I order anything, I always send a little message out to my organizer and say, what do we want? What are you hearing in the community? What did you receive at another event that everybody liked? And I've got one in particular who loves to send me pictures of logo items that he has received from work or another event. And he says, let's try these. Let's see how much they are. If they don't work, again, move on to the next one. So, one
I
more.
saw one more question, right? One more row up, 3 people in. There you go.
Thank you. I just wanted to talk about the shirts, because when you talk like have a shirt that fit everybody, so if I get a shirt that doesn't fit, I put for donation. Right. So if everybody think about shirt and think that the people is going to wear, maybe have to rethink that, because people can get the shirt and put for donation, then all investment that you put there, it's gone.
Yeah, one thing I did actually at my last DevFest, it didn't quite go over as well as I was hoping it would. I had a box for donation of like, grab your shirt, and if you don't want it right away, just here's where we want it, plan on giving it to, and
Well, to add to that, make sure that your shirts are very good quality, or else people won't wear them. They may shrink. I know one DevFest in our region, he ordered, I don't know how many hundreds of shirts, and they literally washed them one time, and they shrunk this way, So it was just really weird. There's certain name brands that I use, and I will not go against these because they're very good. They're tried and true. I wear them myself. I wash them just to see what they do, and because I know that my community is doing the same thing.
one suggestion is find your favorite T-shirt in your closet.
Yep.
And see if you can get that with your stuff printed on it.
Just because I'm the microphone, so then I can make 2 questions. So you just mentioned about the size. People can wash it and can become small. But also sometimes we have this experience. We went there and we print was very nice. First time that we wash, the print like disappeared. So we used the shirt once and it was gone.
There's some printing pro tips that we can do. Like when I'll give this as a good example. This shirt here, they had to print a white circle first, and then they printed green on top. So you can ask for what's called a vintage print, where they won't print that white, and it'll look a little washed. I don't know if anybody saw the shirt I had on last night. It had a worn look to it. They took the ink and they did one pass of each color, instead of putting the white background first to make the color vibrant. So it takes that away, and it changes the look of it a little bit. And to me, I like it better that way. This is so thick, after a while, it will start to crack, whereas the other one won't. If you look at this shirt, I've had this shirt since 2018, and it's all cracked up because I use it a lot because I really like the way this shirt feels. But, take that in consideration.
And that also might be why you might not want to print your own shirts.
Yes.
So,
anyway.
On that note, I think we're done. I think we're going to have to cut ourselves off.
Yep, we're done.
Before Corinna can.
Thank you.